The city was almost asleep. Most shop lights were off, streets were empty, and a cold wind moved the trash on the road. Only one small sign was still glowing at the end of the lane: Ethan's repair shop. Inside, Ethan worked alone. The clock on the wall showed it was very late. His hands were tired, his eyes burned from the bright desk lamp. He fixed old radios, broken phones, kids' toys, anything people brought to him. Tonight, he just wanted to close the shop and go home. He reached for the light switch. At that exact moment, the bell over the door rang. The sound was soft, but in the quiet shop it felt loud, almost sharp. Ethan froze and turned around. The door opened slowly, letting in a slice of cold night air. A tall figure stepped inside, wearing a long dark coat with the collar up. The hood was low, hiding most of the face in shadow. The stranger did not say hello. He just walked straight to the counter and placed something on it. It was a small dragon toy. The toy was made of metal and plastic, but it looked like it had survived a fire. One glass eye was cracked, a wing was bent, and the paint was burned away in some places, leaving black marks. Tiny clawed feet were melted at the edges, as if they had stood in heat for a long time. For a second, Ethan forgot he was tired. He looked down at the strange toy, and then up at the shadowed face. Do you want this repaired?" Ethan asked. The stranger's voice was low and rough, almost like a bad speaker. "Fix this," the man said. "No matter what you do, do not open the head module." The last words were slow and clear, like a warning or a threat. Ethan blinked. "The head module?" he repeated. "You mean they—" He reached out to touch the toy's head. As his fingers brushed the metal, the good glass eye flashed faintly. A quick dim glow of light that vanished so fast it looked like a trick of his tired brain. He pulled his hand back. "Hey, what kind of—" Ethan started. He looked up, but the stranger was already turning toward the door. "Wait! I need a name, a number, something," Ethan called. The tall man did not answer. The bell over the door rang one more time, and then he was gone. Outside, the street was empty again, like no one had been there at all. Ethan frowned. He moved to the window and looked out. The dark coat was already lost in the shadows. Behind him, the dragon toy sat on the counter, one cracked eye staring at nothing. In the corner of the shop, a small CCTV camera watched the scene. Its red light blinked, then crackled with faint static for a moment. The recording glitched just as the stranger passed under it, turning his face into a blur of broken pixels. Ethan sighed and locked the door. He told himself it was just a weird customer. Every shop had them. It was nothing. He did not see the dragon toy's tail twitch, just a tiny, almost invisible movement, before it went still again. Far above the clouds, the sky was not empty. A shape moved quietly in the darkness of orbit, hidden from human eyes. It was too big to be a plane, too silent to be a normal ship. Its long body curved like a sleeping serpent, made of black metal and armor, with dozens of glowing windows like eyes. Inside that hidden ship, a room full of screens showed the earth below. One screen showed Ethan's repair shop from high above, just a dot of light in a dark city. Another screen showed the inside of the shop. The view came from somewhere near the counter. Looking down at Ethan and the dragon toy, a deep, cold voice spoke. "The human has it now." Next to the main screen, a figure stood tall, covered in scaled armor that glowed faintly with lines of energy. Its outline looked like that of a dragon standing on two legs, with horns curling back from its head and eyes like burning gold. Another smaller figure stood beside it, with softer lines and curious, bright eyes. "Is he a soldier?" the smaller one asked. Her voice was lighter, but still not human. "No," the taller one answered. "Just a mechanic." On the screen, Ethan picked up the toy and turned it in his hands. His eyebrows pulled together in confusion. "Begin recording," the dragon commander said. every move he makes, every change in the device. Do not interfere. Yet, the smaller one watched the human with interest. He looks tired, she said. But he still takes the toy. No questions asked. That is what makes this species dangerous, the commander replied. They touch what they do not understand. They fix what should remain broken. The screen zoomed in. The dragon toy lay in Ethan's palms, cracked eye dark again. But inside the metal body, something old and hidden woke up. Like embers starting to glow back on Earth. Ethan carried the toy to his workbench. He put it down gently, as if it were more fragile than it looked, and wrote a quick note on a piece of tape. Dragon toy, no name, no number. He stuck it to the base. For a long moment, he just stared at it. The toy stared back with its empty eye. Ethan rubbed his face and laughed quietly at himself. It's just a toy, he muttered. He did not know that. At that very moment, in the sky above him and in the shadows of his own city, 3 different powers had started watching the same small dragon toy. And the human mechanic who dared to touch it. Morning came to the city in slow, pale light. It slipped between tall gray buildings and touched the front of Ethan's repair shop. Ethan unlocked the door and stepped in, rubbing his eyes. He flicked on the lights. Bulbs hummed to life, pushing the shadows away. On the workbench, the dragon toy was exactly where he had left it. The melted claws, the cracked eye, the burn marks along its tiny metal ribs. The tape with his messy handwriting still clung to the base. Dragon toy, no name, no number. He picked it up. The metal felt strangely cool, like it had been sitting in a fridge instead of a warm room. He turned it over, looking for a logo, a battery hatch, any brand mark. Nothing. No sticker, no serial number. Just smooth plastic and metal with thin lines carved like scales. That's not normal, he said quietly. He set the dragon toy under his desk lamp and grabbed a small screwdriver. Outside, the city woke up. Cars passed, people walked by, children dragged their parents toward school. The bell above the door rang. Morning customers came and went, dropping off cracked phones and dead laptops. Ethan took each item and put it aside. But every time there was a free moment, his eyes slid back to the dragon toy. There was something about it that would not let him ignore it. Finally, he rolled his stool up to the bench and sat. Okay, little dragon, he said. Let's see what your problem is. He began with the body. He carefully loosened the screws along its back and sides, leaving the head alone like the stranger had ordered. The shell opened with a soft click. Ethan froze. Inside, he did not find simple toy wires and cheap plastic parts. He found a tiny forest of thin metal threads, shining under the lamp like spiderwebs made of chrome. Smooth pieces like scales were layered over each other, linked by hair-thin lines of silver. What the? He whispered. Some parts looked melted. Others looked clean and sharp. It did not look like any toy he had seen before. He gently touched one of the metal threads. With the tip of his tool, a small spark jumped. Oh! He pulled back as a tiny jolt of static bit his fingertip. The desk lamp flickered once and steadied. He frowned. Great, now I'm shocking myself with toys. For a second, the air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. Outside the shop, at the same time, the streetlights along the lane blinked. A woman looked up as all the lights dimmed together, then brightened again. Inside the dragon toy, deep under the strange metal, something woke and glowed a little brighter. Far above, in the hidden ship, new data flowed across a row of screens. He's opened the body, the smaller dragon figure said. Her bright eyes followed every movement of Ethan's hands on the feed. See how careful he is. He doesn't rip anything. He studies it first. That is what makes him useful, the commander replied. And dangerous. On another screen, readings shifted. Energy from the device's core rose. A small diagram of the dragon icon flashed, showing damaged parts slowly waking. The human has given it power again, the smaller one said. From scrap and old circuits. He does not even know what it is, the commander said. Yet he repairs it. This is why humans spread so fast. They fix broken things and turn them into tools. The smaller dragon tilted her head. Or friends, she said softly. The commander did not answer. Back in the shop, Ethan carefully closed the dragon's body again. He tightened the screws. He did not touch the head. The stranger's warning still echoed in his mind. Do not open the head module. He pulled his stool back and looked at the toy. Now sitting upright on the bench. You're full of weird parts and bad attitude, he told it. But I think we can get you working. He wiped his hands on a cloth and glanced at the clock. More jobs were waiting. The dragon toy would have to wait a little longer. He did not notice the way its cracked eye caught the light just then and held it the way a real eye would. He did not feel the faint electronic pulse that ran through the shop's old wiring, but in the sky above. The hidden ship adjusted its position by a fraction of a degree, and somewhere else in the city, in a dark human control room, a new signal blinked to life on a screen. Labeled in sharp white letters, alien device active. Night came quietly. Most shops were dark now. Inside Ethan's repair shop, only the desk lamp burned over tools and half-fixed machines. Out in the middle of that light lay the dragon toy. Burned paint, cracked eye, bent wings. It looked small and harmless, like something a child had loved and then thrown away. Still, Ethan's eyes kept returning to it. He sat down. All right, little dragon, he said. Let's try again. From a drawer, he pulled out a simple power pack he had built from scrap 2 wires, a switch, 1 tired battery cell. He opened a small side panel on the toy and found the contacts he had seen earlier among the strange metal threads. His hand paused, then he connected the wires. For a heartbeat. Nothing. Then the desk lamp dimmed slightly, as if something had drunk a sip of its power. Ethan glanced up, then back down. Frowning, a soft hum rose inside the toy. Not a cheap, buzzing sound. Smooth, low, steady. Tiny joints shifted with quiet clicks. The cracked glass eye caught the light and held it. A faint glow appeared deep inside. Okay. That's new, he whispered. The tail twitched. One wing lifted a little, then lowered. Slowly, the dragon raised its head. Far above the world. Readings jumped on alien screens. The core is active, the young dragon scientist said. Energy is stable. The armored commander leaned closer. That should not be possible, he said. Our own teams couldn't restart it safely. He just did, she answered. With scrap parts and no training. On the main screen, Ethan's face filled the image. Eyes wide as he watched the toy move. He does not know what it is, the commander said. But he turned it back on anyway. The scientist replied. Back in the shop. The dragon toy blinked. Both eyes lit now. Not a single color, but a mixed soft blue with a hint of gold. The little head turned slightly, testing the neck joint. Ethan flinched, then laughed at himself. Robots, he muttered. Always freakier when they work. A speaker inside the toy crackled. Hello. A bright, childlike voice chirped. I am your dragon buddy. Ready to play? Ethan stared, then let out a long breath. Right, he said. So you are some fancy toy. Under the cute voice, for less than a second, something else hissed through the speaker. Fast tones and sharp clicks like numbers spoken too quickly to follow. Ethan's ears were too tired to notice. Inside the toy, hidden code finished waking. Tiny lenses focused. Sensors sampled the air. It mapped the bench, the door, the scattered tools. It recorded Ethan's face, his posture, the speed of his breathing, and quietly tagged him as a priority human. Ethan took a step to the left. The dragon's head turned, eyes following him. He moved to the right. The toy tracked again, smooth and exact. He frowned. "You really are watching me, huh?" he said. He leaned closer and tapped its nose with a fingertip. The toy opened its mouth and played a tiny roar. Roar. It squeaked. Double quotes. "Yeah, terrifying," he said. "Totally." His gaze drifted to the top of its head. Now that it was lit, he could see a hair-thin seam where the plates met. He knew he could open it. He wanted to open it. The warning floated back into his mind. "Do not open the head module." His hand tightened on the small screwdriver lying nearby. If he opened it, he might finally understand what this thing really was. It was sitting very still, eyes bright, almost waiting. After a long moment, he put the screwdriver down. "Not today," he said quietly. "You're finally working. I'm not taking that risk yet." On the hidden ship, the scientist watched that decision. "He resists curiosity," she said. The commander nodded slowly. "Mark it," he ordered. "He fixes what he does not understand, but he also knows when to stop." Their console added a new note. "Subject shows repair without disassembly. Bond status. Beginning." Down in the shop, Ethan switched off the main lights. Only the desk lamp and the dragon's glowing eyes remained. For a tiny instant, the pupils narrowed into sharp slits. A low word slipped from its speaker, in a language older than any on Earth. Ethan turned his head. "Did you say something?" The toy looked harmless again. "Playtime." It chirped in its normal voice. Ethan rubbed his face. "I seriously need more sleep," he muttered. He didn't see the new alert blinking silent and bright in systems far above the planet. Battle Core. Awake Human Link. ACTIV. For the first time since the crash. The dragon weapon was not just online. It was interested in the human who brought it back. Asterisk. The next morning, Ethan opened the shop like always. Lights on. Open. Sign glowing. On the front shelf near the window, the dragon toy sat. It still looked damaged. Burn marks, cracked eye, bent wings. No glow, no sound. Just a small metal toy among dusty radios. Ethan wiped the counter, but his eyes kept going back to it. Last night's memories felt unreal now. The smooth steps. The silly dragon buddy voice. Those watching eyes. Probably just tired, he muttered. The bell rang. Customers came with dead phones and broken fans. Ethan worked by habit. Hands busy, mind elsewhere. Every time the shop fell quiet, he glanced at the shelf. Around noon, 2 kids walked by outside. "Look, a dragon robot," the older girl said, pressing her face to the glass. Her little brother made a face. "It's creepy. Its eye is broken." She laughed and stayed a second longer, on the shelf. The dragon toy's head moved a finger's width. Its cracked eye lined up with the girl's eyes. Its tail twitched once and went still. The kids didn't notice. Their mother called them away. Ethan did notice. He straightened slowly, heart beating harder. He knew he had left the toy facing into the shop, not toward the window. He walked over and picked it up. The metal felt cool, almost cold. The toy's body was limp. Its eyes were dark. "How are you turning yourself?" he whispered. He checked the base for wheels or magnets. Nothing. Same strange shell. Same hidden weight. He set it back, carefully this time. Head straight at the back wall. Tail to the right. Wings low. He stared for a long second, fixing the pose in his mind. "All right," he said softly. "If you move again, I want proof." He took out his old phone and opened the camera. He propped it on a box across from the shelf. The dragon toy sat in the center of the frame. Ethan pressed record and left it running. The afternoon passed. Repair a radio. Change a battery. Take a payment. The bell over the door chimed. Tools clicked on the bench. The phone watched in silence. On the screen, the toy did not move. Across the city, in a windowless room, another screen showed Ethan's shop. One feed came from a traffic pole. Another from higher up, watching the street. A bright marker blinked over the tiny shape of the dragon toy. A man in a dark suit stood in front of the screens. "Signal check," he said. A tech tapped keys. "Same energy pattern as the crash object, sir. Same frequency. Same spikes. It's inside that toy." The man nodded slowly, eyes on the tiny shelf. "And the owner?" he asked. "Local mechanic," the tech replied. "Name, Ethan Cole. No record. No strange money. No contacts. He's just trying to fix it." "Of course he is," the man said. "Humans can't leave unknown things alone." He turned away. "Put a team near that shop tonight," he ordered. "Plain clothes. No sirens. I want the device taken quietly. And keep the mechanic breathing. For now." Evening came. Ethan flipped the sign to closed, locked the door, and finally picked up his phone. "Let's see." "Little Dragon," he said. He sat behind the counter and opened the video. At first, nothing. The toy sat still. Customers moved behind it. Light outside shifted from bright to soft. He sped the video up. People became blurs. Shadows slid across the wall. The toy stayed exactly where he had left it. He almost closed the file. Then the image jumped. He rewound a few seconds and played it again at normal speed. The shop was empty in the recording. No customers. No movement. Just the shelf, the toy, and a few old radios. On the screen, the dragon's eyes lit softly. The small head lifted. Slowly, it turned straight toward the camera, straight toward him. For one long second, the toy stared into the lens. A thin line of static crawled across the image. The glow in its eyes looked sharp and focused. Then the light went out. The head lowered. The toy froze in its original pose. The video continued as if nothing had happened. Ethan's fingers tightened around the phone. He raised his eyes to the real shelf. The dragon toy sat in the same place. Facing him, the buzzing lights felt louder than before. The shop felt smaller, as if the walls had moved closer. For the first time, Ethan accepted a new, cold fact. The dragon toy was not just a broken thing he had repaired. It could move when it wanted. And now it was not only being watched. It was watching him back. High above the clouds, night over the city looked different. From space, streets were thin lines of light. Cars were tiny sparks. Ethan's repair shop was only one soft dot in a wide sea of black. To one hidden ship. That dot was more important than all the rest. The ship's body was long and curved, like a dragon of metal. Armor plates covered it. Between them, thin rivers of blue light pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Inside, a wall of screens showed Earth. One screen showed only Ethan's shop, the counter, the shelf, and the little dragon toy under the lights. "The device is stable," the young dragon scientist said. Her eyes were bright gold. Silver lines along her scales marked her as a thinker, not a soldier. "The core is drawing power from his primitive systems." The commander stood beside her, taller and heavier, with dark armor over red scales. His horns were chipped from old battles. "Show me the core feed," he said. The picture changed. Now it showed the dragon toy from inside out. Layers of metal peeled away in slow steps, revealing a bright point hidden in the chest. That point flickered like a tiny star. "Battle core, Model V13, the scientist said. "Built to control one assault frame or a swarm of drones. It was lost during the last border war." "Lost," the commander repeated. "No, we threw it away." He watched the star on the screen, eyes hard. "It malfunctioned," he said. "It questioned orders. It hesitated to strike civilian targets. It was weaker than the rest." The scientist tilted her head. "And now?" she asked. "Now," he said slowly, "a human has picked it up and given it a second life." He turned his gaze to another screen. Ethan sat at his counter, elbows on the wood, eyes fixed on the toy. Humans, the commander said, almost a growl. They repair anything they find, even our failures. The scientist watched Ethan too. He talks to it when he is alone, she said softly. He calls it Little Dragon. He says thank you when it cooperates. They treat tools like friends, the commander answered. That makes them unpredictable. On another screen, new text flashed. Outside powers, present classification, Human Government Unit ACTIV. The scientist pulled that image closer. Other humans also found the signal, she said. They traced the energy from the crash. They know the device is in his shop. The view changed to show the dark control room in the city. The man in the suit. The blinking icon. They want the core for themselves, she said. Of course they do, the commander said. They are like us. The scientist looked back at Ethan on his small stool. He is not like them, she said quietly. The commander's eyes narrowed. You are beginning to care, he said. Care is dangerous. You chose this world for a test, she answered. You said, if they break it, they are simple. If they sell it, they are greedy. If they worship it, they are weak. She pointed at the screen, but he repaired it and speaks to it as an equal. That was not in your plan. Silence filled the chamber. Mark the human, the commander said at last. Name, Ethan, role, mechanic. Threat level, rising. The ship's systems added new lines to the file. Subject, Ethan Cole status. Observe closely contact. Forbiddens, for now. The scientist watched the words appear. What happens if the government men reach him first? She asked. Then we see how your human reacts to fear, the commander said. Every test needs pressure. He looked at the main screen, where Ethan now sat with his head in his hands. The toy resting beside him. If he breaks the core, he proves he is still like us, the commander murmured. And if he protects it? The scientist asked. The commander did not answer. Far below, in the small shop on the quiet street, the dragon toy shifted one claw a tiny distance closer to Ethan's hand. It had no face to show feeling, no heart in the human sense. And yet, with every extra second of power it drew from Ethan's repairs, with every word the human spoke, the battle core's old rules felt less clear. That it was not just a weapon anymore, that it was something new. Balanced between two worlds, the empire of dragons in the dark sky and the noisy, stubborn race of humans on the ground. Asterisk rain hit the street in hard, fast lines. The city lights blurred on the wet road outside Ethan's repair shop. Inside, it was quiet. Ethan wiped the counter one last time. His back hurt. His eyes felt heavy. He wanted nothing more than his small apartment, a hot shower, and sleep. On the shelf near the window, the dragon toy sat. Its cracked eye caught a bit of light from the street. To anyone outside, it was just a broken toy. To Ethan, it was now something else, something that moved, watched, and woke up when it wanted. He flipped the sign to closed, but didn't kill all the lights. One warm lamp stayed on near the shelf. Good night, little dragon, he said under his breath. He didn't know why he said it. It just felt right. He reached for the lock. Headlights slid across the front glass. A black van rolled to a stop right outside his door. No taxi sign. No company logo. Just dark windows and washed-out plates. Ethan's hand paused on the lock. The van doors opened. 3 men stepped out, all in plain dark clothes. They did not run. They did not hurry. They walked to his shop like they already owned the place. A cold feeling slipped into his stomach before he could move. One of them knocked. Loud and sharp. Knock. Knock. Ethan swallowed and unlocked the door. Just halfway. Sorry, we're closed, he began. The man at the front held up an ID badge. It flashed too fast for Ethan to read the small text. Some government symbol. Some letters. We need to speak with you, Mr. Cole, the man said. His voice was calm, too calm. "About an item that was brought to your shop." Ethan's heart sped up. "What item?" The man's eyes went past him to the shelf behind his shoulder. "The dragon toy," he said. He did not say please. No smile. No normal tone. Just a flat command, wrapped in polite words. Something in Ethan's chest tightened. "That's someone's property," he said slowly. "No name, but it belongs to a customer. I can't just give it away." The man at the front tilted his head. "This is national security, Mr. Cole," he replied. "You don't understand what you're holding. The device is dangerous. It has to come with us now." Device, not toy. He tried to keep his face calm, but inside, his mind was racing. They know. They know it's not normal. How? From the crash news? From the strange energy? From the way it woke up? One of the other men shifted. Under his jacket, Ethan saw the hard outline of a gun. The dragon toy, still on the shelf, turned its head a tiny bit, only a few degrees. Just enough to face the door. Ethan felt it more than saw it. He stepped back and opened the door wider, letting the men in. The bell rang as they crossed the threshold. But the cheerful sound felt wrong in the thick, heavy air. The leader's eyes swept the room, then locked on the toy. "There," he said. The second man pulled out a small handheld device. It looked like a scanner with a round screen. When he pointed it at the dragon toy, the screen lit up with spiking lines. "Confirmed," the tech said. "Same signal as the crash object. Stronger than before." Crash.object. Ethan felt like the floor had dropped a few inches. The leader turned to him. "Thank you for keeping it safe," he said in that same flat tone. "Now we'll take it from here." He reached for the toy. Something inside, Ethan shouted. No. He could have let them. He could have stepped aside, pretended he saw nothing strange, gone back to his normal small life. Instead, he heard his own voice say, calm but firm, "You can't just walk in and take it. Show me a proper order. A warrant, something." The leader's eyes hardened. "We don't have time for this," he said. "Step aside." He moved again toward the shelf. The dragon toy's eyes lit up just a little. A thin ring of gold around fading blue. Ethan saw that. The leader did not. Every light in the shop flickered. The tech looked at his scanner. "Sir, the output just doubled." "I think it's reacting." He never finished. The dragon toy's glow suddenly flared, bright and sharp. For a heartbeat, the air hummed like a high wire ready to snap. Then everything went white. A wave of invisible force rolled out from the toy. The desk lamp popped. The overhead lights exploded in small flashes. The scanner in the tech's hand died with a cough of static and darkened screen. Outside, the streetlights along the road blinked off together. The shop fell into blackness. "What the?" one of the men shouted. Glass crunched as someone stepped wrong. A shelf shook. Old radios tumbled with a crash. Backup lights. The leaders snapped, but their gear was dead. Their earpieces buzzed, then went silent. In the sudden dark, only one thing glowed. The dragon toy. Its eyes burned now, clear gold, brighter than any lamp. A soft field of light wrapped around it and Ethan's chest, like a faint shield. For a second, Ethan heard a voice that did not use his ears. It came straight into his mind, smooth and strange. "Do not be afraid, repairer. I will not let them take me." Ethan grabbed the shelf to steady himself. This was too much, moving on its own, talking, killing the power. But the men were already recovering. "Find it," the leader yelled. "Even without power, it's in here somewhere." Flashlights clicked on from their belts. Thin beams cut through the dark. They were not fully dead after all. Just stunned. The light slid over the counter, the tools, the broken machines. Ethan made his choice. He stepped quickly to the shelf, hand moving before his fear could stop it. He scooped the dragon toy up and pressed it tight under his jacket. "Hey!" One of the men shouted. Ethan didn't wait. He ran. He darted around the end of the counter, feet pounding on the worn floor. A flashlight beam flashed past his shoulder. A hand grabbed for his arm and missed. "Stop him!" The leader roared. Ethan hit the back door, slammed it open, and burst into the rain. Cold water hit his face. The alley was slick and dark. Behind him, the shop filled with angry voices and heavy boots. Above the clouds, on the hidden ship, alarms flared on the screens. "Human subject under attack," the system wrote. "Core defense mode, partial." The young dragon scientist stared. "He protected it," she said quietly. "He chose to run with it, not give it away." The commander watched Ethan's small figure on the screen as he disappeared into the wet maze of alleys, clutching the glowing dragon to his chest. "Well then," the commander murmured, "let us see what your human does. When there is no safe way back." Rain hammered the city as Ethan ran. His shoes slid on wet concrete. His lungs burned. Behind him, boots splashed and men shouted his name under his jacket. The dragon toy vibrated softly, warm against his chest like a small engine. He cut through a narrow alley, shoved over a stack of crates, and bought himself a few seconds. He needed more than seconds. The toy glowed faintly. A calm thought voice slid into his mind. "Turn right at the next street. 3 blocks. Open ground. High scrap walls." Ethan had no time to argue with a voice in his head. He turned right, ran 3 blocks and burst out onto a wider road. Cars hissed past in the rain. Across the street, behind a rusted fence, he saw the answer. The old junkyard. Piles of dead cars. Towers of metal. Forgotten machines. Perfect. He sprinted across the road in a gap between cars, grabbed the fence, and climbed. "There!" One of the men shouted behind him. Ethan threw himself over the top, scraped his arm, and dropped inside. Mud splashed. Rows of broken vehicles rose around him, roofs ringing with rain. He pulled the dragon toy out. Its eyes glowed blue gold in the gray light. "You chose to run with me," the voice said. "Why?" Ethan gave a short, tired laugh. "Because you were in my shop," he whispered. "Because they don't care if I live. Because I couldn't just hand you over." The toy tilted its head a little. "You fixed what others threw away," it said. "You gave me power without knowing my purpose." "That is new." Ethan looked around. Old batteries. Coils of wire. Bent antennae. A large satellite dish lay on its side like a metal bowl. His fear sharpened into focus. He was a mechanic, surrounded by junk. That meant he had tools. "What do they use to track you?" he asked. "Signal trace," the toy answered. "They follow the pattern I send when I am awake. Then we don't stop the signal," Ethan said. "We scramble it." He dragged 2 car batteries out of the mud and checked them by habit. Enough charge. He propped the satellite dish on some blocks, roughly aimed it at the sky, and started wiring, stripped cables with his teeth, twisted copper together, hooked both batteries to the dish. The setup looked ugly and wrong, but he had built uglier things that still worked. He set the dragon toy in the center of the dish. Rain dotted its wings. "This might hurt," he said, uncertain. The voice replied, "But I will endure." "Good, me too." He clipped on the last wire. The dish hummed. The batteries shivered. The toy's eyes flared bright for a heartbeat. High above the planet, in the hidden ship, warning lights flashed. On the main screen, the neat single spike that marked the core split into many. "Commander," the young scientist said. "He is routing our signal through his scrap. The trace is scattering. I cannot lock the position." "Show me," the commander said. The map zoomed out. Instead of one clear dot, there were dozens of weak echoes spread over the city and beyond, like sparks thrown from a fire. "He does not know our systems," she said. "He does not know our equations, but he knows his trash," the commander answered. He knows his world. In the city control room, the suited man stared at his screen. What just happened? He demanded the source. Fractured, the tech said. The signal looks like it's coming from everywhere. I can't track it anymore. Everywhere is useless, the man hissed. Spread the teams. We'll search on foot. Back in the junkyard, the hum from the dish settled into a steady note. Ethan rested his hands on the cold rim and watched the toy. Can they still see you? He asked. Less clearly, the voice answered. You turned my song into noise. Ethan let out a slow breath and managed a small smile. Welcome to human radio, he said. The toy's eyes brightened. You are not a soldier, it said. Yet you damage an empire's net with broken tools. Ethan shrugged. I had good junk, he said. Far above. The Dragon commander watched the storm of false signals and the single human at the center. For this one, he said quietly, simple observation is no longer enough. He straightened. Prepare a contact shuttle. Minimal crew. Cloaked entry. Down in the yard of dead machines, Ethan stood in the rain with a glowing dragon toy in a stolen dish. Not knowing that the decision had been made, the Dragon Empire would meet a human face to face. The rain slowed to a steady curtain. The junkyard felt like its own world, just Ethan, the broken machines, and the glowing toy in the old dish. Ethan shivered. His clothes were wet, his fingers numb. The batteries hummed softly. The dragon toy's eyes shone steady gold blue. Are we safe now? He asked. For a little while, the voice in his mind said. But they will not stop. They never stop. Who are they really? Ethan whispered. The ones watching you. Watching me. There was a pause, like the toy was choosing its words. My makers, it said at last. The Dragon Empire. They built me as a weapon. Threw me away when I failed. Failed how? Ethan asked. I hesitated, the core answered. I did not fire when ordered. They called me weak. Ethan let out a short breath. Maybe that means you're not a weapon anymore, he said. Maybe it means you're something better. The toy's eyes brightened. Before it could answer, the air changed. The rain around them began to fall. Slower, the hairs on Ethan's arms rose. The junkyard grew strangely quiet, as if the whole world held its breath. A pale light bloomed above. The heaps of metal. At first it looked like another flash of lightning. But lightning did not stay still. Lightning did not shape itself into a long, curved shadow with glowing lines along the sides. A ship slid down through the clouds, almost invisible except for the faint edges of blue light. It did not roar. It did not shake the ground. It simply appeared like a ghost stepping into view. Ethan's mouth went dry. Is that them? He whispered. Yes, the voice said. Contact shuttle. Minimal crew. They are breaking their own rules to meet you. The ship stopped above the mud, maybe 2 stories high. A line of light ran down its center, then opened like an eye. A ramp unfolded. Touching the ground without a sound, Ethan almost stepped back. Instead, he stood where he was, one hand on the satellite dish, the other near the toy. 2 figures walked down the ramp. They were shaped like dragons standing upright. Their scales shone in the dim light, armor hugging their bodies like metal plates grown from bone. Horns curved back from their heads. Their eyes glowed like hot coals. The larger one was heavy and scarred. The smaller was slimmer, eyes bright and curious. They stopped a few meters away from Ethan, for a moment. No one moved. Then the smaller one spoke, her voice clear and strange. Yet somehow understandable. Ethan Cole, she said. Human mechanic. You have something that belongs to us. Ethan swallowed, but he didn't run. He didn't kneel. He stayed standing, even though his legs wanted to shake. If you mean the toy, he said, it walked into my life broken. I fixed it. It's not just yours anymore. The larger dragon's eyes narrowed. You repaired a battle core with scrap and instinct, he said. You ran from your own hunters to protect it. Why? Ethan looked down at the toy. Because no one else did, he said simply. They saw a weapon or a problem. I saw something hurt. And fixing hurt things is my job. The smaller dragon's eyes softened a little. She looked at the glowing toy in the dish. Core V13, she said. State your choice. The toy moved. It stepped out of the center of the dish, claws clicking softly on the metal. Water slid off its bent wings. It raised its head toward the two great dragons, then turned to Ethan when it spoke. Its words came from both the small speaker and Ethan's mind at once. I was built to serve commands, it said. To destroy on order. I failed your tests. You threw me away. It looked up at Ethan. He found me, it continued. He gave me power without demand. He risked his life when others came to take me. It turned back to the tall commander. I choose to stay with the human, the core said. Not as weapon, as guardian. And as student, the commander's eyes flared. You would turn against your makers? He asked. I turned toward something new, the core answered. You built me to obey. He taught me to care. That is stronger. Silence pressed in. Rain pattered on metal. Somewhere in the yard, a loose panel creaked. Ethan's heart pounded. He had no plan if they said no. No weapon, no backup. Just his stubborn choice and a dragon toy that had decided to stand with him. The smaller dragon spoke softly. Commander, she said. The test is complete. We wanted to see how humans treat something they do not understand. She nodded toward Ethan. He fixed it, she said. Protected it. Defied stronger forces for it. This species is dangerous, but also loyal. The commander looked from her to Ethan, then to the small dragon at his feet. At last, he let out a low breath that sounded almost like a sigh. Very well, he said. The core stays with the human. Ethan blinked. Wait, that's it. The commander's gaze pinned him. Do not misunderstand, mechanic, he said. We are not giving up, we are adjusting. He raised one clawed hand. Light lines drew a symbol in the air, then folded into nothing. We will not harvest your world, he said. Not yet. We will watch. We will learn. And one day, we will speak again as equals. Or as enemies. He turned to the young scientist. Mark the file, he ordered. Species, human. Status, extremely dangerous. Extremely valuable. She smiled faintly and inclined her head. Marked, she said. The commander looked down at Ethan one last time. Never forget this, human, he said. Tonight, an empire changed its plans because one of you refused to let something stay broken. With that, he turned and walked back up the ramp. The scientist gave Ethan a long searching look, then followed. The ramp closed. The ship lifted, silent as breath, and vanished into the clouds. The rain returned to its normal fall. The junkyard was just a Sela junkyard again. Ethan let out a long breath he didn't know he'd been holding. His legs wobbled, and he sat on the edge of a dead car. The dragon toy hopped down from the dish onto his knee. You did not give me away, it said. Ethan gave a tired half smile. I guess I'm not good at letting go of broken things, he said. The toy's eyes glowed warmly. Then we have much to fix, it replied. Your world. And maybe mine. Ethan looked up at the cloudy sky. Somewhere up there, an entire dragon empire now had a new note in its records. Warning, never underestimate the humans. He didn't know what would come next, but for the first time, he didn't feel small. He felt ready.